Um, uh, kuna issue, our meeting tolo, kuna issue ngako we must, there are two issues which we must discuss after the meeting.
Okay.
Yako, because the number ta yana ngako ti low,
Okay.
we may need to consider to reduce districts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I,
Okay.
I don't know how we're going to deal with it.
Okay. Then we are saying we'll discuss this after our meeting.
Let's, at the groups, teams, you miss it.
Okay, Ndai Sus.
Then
But
we'll,
should I still mention that there will be two groups?
eh, I'm not sure if we're going to reduce the district because it'll be stretching.
Mm.
Mm. Actually, there's a matter that we must reduce. We can say there's okay, I'll raise it myself. Yeah, you have to reduce the
Yeah,
district.
you can raise it. Yeah,
Yeah, but just remove
the groups. Yeah.
the teams. Yeah, because when I issue in SQL, will be stretched out, and this is an important complex bin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then I'll do that.
Number advert. Yeah, this advert is it out?
Ekon kuma purchase order tolo napsiku ya this electoral the party funding issue koni kuma tolo. So we could
Mm.
not contact the service provider until we get the purchase order. So I got it around 8 o'clock at night.
Mm.
So we can only contact them after the meeting to say, yeah, the adverts, and then they start the process because I could not contact them directly until I get the purchase order.
Mm.
Yeah. And then I'm sure today I'll also get the immigration one.
Okay.
And and then the other thing is, this is my, because it takes time kuba i translator na kuba I go through the process of SCM. So lanwa akaleti mbiri letiwana. And like that, maybe if the committee could just indicate that I should start the process of translation and the SCM process while we are going to schedule these two to be briefed the committee, for the committee to be briefed. But in the process, I start with the process.
Yeah, Electoral Commission Amendment Bill. Yeah, private.
Yeah, yeah, this is the private one. And then there's this one stop border posts. You remember we said no, if it would be possible to advertise before the festive season.
Yeah, this one electoral, what? It's a political matter, this one. I don't think we must rush it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a serious political matter which was discussed yesterday. So we may need to schedule for a briefing, Yona, next year, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You get my point?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's that. Uh, yeah, I think it looks like everything is fine. I just want to go to that
The,
document. Let me get any delete.
the agent one, Yona, one stop border post, immigration, party funding, and
Okay.
uh, and yeah, these are the most important ones. So this one, without saying it in the meeting, we can say no. Uh, we'll we'll reschedule it for next year, given the congestion of the matters. I'll just complicate it in the meeting, but I think we'll get a way to get that.
Yeah, I mean, now what I'll do is I'll just indicate these are the bills that we have, even though
Yeah,
the other one, I'll just indicate the marriage bill, immigration bill, one-stop border boss, and the electoral commission. Those are the four bills that are before the committee.
yeah,
Then you can just juggle around on the issue of when we can receive a briefing on on the the electoral commission bill.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And also, what I have done so far, Gauteng so far, because we
yeah.
have to draft letters to the legislature, to the premier, the metros. So I've done those letters and then I'll send, because they are almost the same for all the metros. Then I'll send one for you to have a look at it today. And then I'll also be drafting the one for KZN, although we were saying we're going to reduce the number of the DC or something like that. So that no,
Mm.
you have a look, because when the public education go out there, they need to have a letter to show that no, they were sent by Parliament.
Okay,
Yeah, so I've drafted the one for Gauteng. I think I'm almost done with just checking of them. And then I'll start with the KwaZulu-Natal so that no, we don't delay the them to start their public education. So if something changes and then we'll indicate that no, let's say we change the dates, we'll indicate the dates have changed. And then also, Tolo, we had a meeting which was chaired by Tuli on this project, because it is not only public education, there are other units in Parliament, like your supply chains, sound and vision, languages that have to be involved. So I'm scheduling another meeting on Monday. It's just for us to update each other.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then public hearing, are they ready with the notes?
I've been spoken to Mr. Simon, because on yesterday when we had the meeting, I'm sure he was attending another meeting. Uh, but I think they might be ready with the notes. I mean, for your engagement with the media.
No, not engagement. The briefing notes in preparation for what they're going to workshop people on the ground. Are they ready with them?
Yeah, yeah. We remember, Adam has done that already to the unit. So there is some notes that Adam has done in terms of summary and brief the group that is going to go out. So they are ready. And they understand they have been translated into all official languages.
Yeah, they must advise them, they must just bring that note to the meeting, one in English, so that we understand where we are.
You mean today?
Yeah, I think they're going to brief us.
Or yeah, yeah, I'm not sure if he will, because now I'm just trying to figure out if I can call him.
Okay.
If I can call him now,
It's fine. We'll deal
so
with it
that
in,
you want him to go through
no, it's fine.
the notes that.
We'll deal with it in the meeting.
Okay, but I should indicate to him that he must come with the
That's,
notes, or
no, that's a decision of the committee that they must come to the committee, brief the committee on the approved notes they're going to use to workshop the community.
okay, I'm just giving him a call now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just WhatsApping him. It looks like his phone is on voicemail.
No problem. We'll deal with it in the meeting. I think we're fine, and I can go to.
Yeah, we're fine, Chair. Yeah, I'm just WhatsApping him. I'm not sure if he'll get the message now. All right.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, Chairperson and members.
Morning, Eddie.
Good morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Good morning, members, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Morning. Chairperson is 10 o'clock, it's 1 minute past 10. If we can start.
Thank you, Praedi, and morning, colleagues, honorable members, and all the officials in attendance, the Parliamentary Legal Services, and the Home Affairs legal team. I will request to ground off my video due to this network problems. Yeah. Thanks very much for this meeting to convene to deal with the issues that are highlighted on the agenda. And we've circulated the agenda to the attention of members. And also appreciate that we convene this in-committee meeting to reflect on the issues that will be arising and taking recommendations from the members of the committee. We convene this meeting as we know that there's challenges around some parts of our country in relation to the spaza shops, which I think we view this as some of the element of criminality, and the security cluster may need to ground in to restore order and take action to those that contribute to this illegality throughout our country or part of our country. So it's an important area that has been noted and observed, and loss of life has been occurred, and also extend condolences to those who have lost life during this period in relation to the subject matter. Hopeful that the executive will or the security cluster will interface with this matter speedily, but also it requires the agency to respond to the legislation that you are awaiting in relation to the white paper to enhance our systems of security. And is an important front paper that we may need to caution the ministry to make sure that the bill is developed and tabled in the committee. Absence to the agency that we're raising, we may need to opt to look for other options, perhaps to engage, develop the committee bill in relation to the white paper that is before the ministry. So those are some of the issues that we've noted. And thanks, members, for having conducted the oversight and raised issues, interfaced with the members of Home Affairs, IEC, Government Printing Works, and BMA, including the staff, and also conducting the unannounced visit to one of the areas at Government Printing Works. And I think we've learned a lot, and decisions that the committee will also be advising to enhance the stability on the institutions, in particular to Government Printing Works. I'm fully aware that we've also interfaced with the communities at Lindela and observe the areas that need improvement, but also taking account on the areas that at least bring comfort to the members of the portfolio committee. So these agenda items will reflect amongst the legislations that is before the committee, how we must interface with it, and also the public hearing that we're going to engage on, and also the BRRR report, and members will then engage on the issues. So we'll move to invite Mr. Matonsi if there any apology that will be rendered, and also introduce the team that is in attendance that is going to assist the committee in relation to the bills. Mr. Matonsi.
Yes, Chairperson, an apology is from Ms. Ballman. She's here in the meeting. She said she was going to leave around 12 o'clock. She had got the flight to catch. That is the only apology I received. And then from the Parliament staff, we have got legal service, Ms. Daksha Kasen, she's here. And then Miss Delane Alistaki, she's here. Mr. Leotla Moshokwa is here. And then Mr. Sopela. Mr. Sopela will be the one briefing us on the issue of the legal opinion on the refugee judgment. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Matonzi. Any other apology? Honorable Yazid,
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Thanks, and good morning to you and the entire team. I want to register apology of Mukhali. He's supposed to be in our meeting, but he's attending an IAC meeting in Tabazit.
Okay. Any other apology? Okay, all the apologies have been noted and approved. I will now invite the Parliamentary Legal Services.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. And good morning to you and all the honorable members and colleagues and departmental officials as well. I will switch off my video in order not to burden the technology. Thank you. The presentation that we are supposed to make, Chairperson, is in relation to the matter of Scalabrini Center of Cape Town versus Minister of Home Affairs and others. And it concerns the invalidity of Section 22, subsection 12 and 13 of the Refugees Act, number 30 of 1998. So I'm just experiencing a problem in moving to the next slide. Mr. Matonzi, is it showing any movement on your side?
No, there's no movement, Mr.
Are
Sopel.
you able to see me? Chairperson?
Mr. Matonzi?
Are you able to see the one that I've just put up on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. And as I've said, the presentation seeks to advise the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs on the judgment of the Constitutional Court in the matter that I've already stated. And we will further advise the committee on how the defect may be corrected and how that could be managed. We must note, though, that there was no suspensive order with an accompanying obligation on Parliament to correct the defect within a certain period. However, considering Section 237 of the Constitution, considering Section 237 of the Constitution, which provides that all constitutional obligations must be performed diligently and without delay, it is necessary that this state of affairs be corrected on the statute book. How did this matter come about? This matter concerned an application brought before the Western Cape Division of the High Court by a non-profit trust, which is Scalabrini Center. At issue was the implementation of the Act and its regulations, in particular the stipulation that where the asylum seeker's visa has not been renewed within 1 month of its expiry, to have abandoned his or her application. The Western Cape High Court found that the Act, in particular Section 22, subsection 12 and 13, to be inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid to the extent that it provides that asylum seekers who have not renewed their visas in terms of Section 22 of the Act within 1 month of the date of expiry of the visa are considered to have abandoned their asylum applications. And as Section 172(2)(a) of the Constitution mandates, the order of the Western Cape High Court had to be confirmed by the Constitutional Court. In argument of the matter before the Constitutional Court, Scalabrini Center had argued that the undocumented status of asylum seekers, which resulted from the implementation of these sections, caused undue hardship, since the asylum seekers are then considered and treated as illegal foreigners once they can't renew their asylum seeker visas, and they get subjected to arrest, detention, and deportation. They further argued that this meant that persons with valid asylum claims may be returned to countries where they may face the risk of persecution, death, torture, sexual violence, and other forms of threats and persecution. They therefore submitted that the Department of Home Affairs officials have a duty to ensure that intending applicants who are not statutorily excluded are given every reasonable opportunity to apply for a visa, and that a delay in applying for refugee status should not preclude and disqualify someone from applying for the same. The applicants further argued that children who are listed as dependents on asylum applications are at the mercy of government's bureaucratic processes governing the main applicant's claim. Their asylum seeker visas are also linked to the main applicant. This means that when the main applicant's claim is deemed abandoned, all dependents' applications will also be automatically deemed abandoned, and they will not be entitled to renewal of their asylum seeker visas. This, Scalabrini argued, will result in dependent children being left undocumented pending the inquiry by the Standing Committee, or indefinitely should the Standing Committee regard the application as abandoned. Children are therefore exposed to severe consequences of being undocumented and the further risk of refoulement, all due to actions and circumstances beyond their control as children. The Constitutional Court, in delivering its judgment, went on to state that the High Court was correct in declaring that subsection 22, subsections 12 and 13 of the Refugees Act are inconsistent with the Constitution and thus invalid. The court ordered as follows: the declaration of constitutional invalidity of subsections 2212 and 2213 of the Refugees Act 130 of 1998 in paragraph A of the order issued by the Western Cape Division of the High Court on 13 February 2023 is confirmed. The declaration of invalidity is retrospective to 1 January 2020, the date on which these subsections came into operation. Skippers AJ concluded that the impugned subsections violate the principle of non-refoulement, infringe the right to dignity, unjustifiably limit the rights of children, and are irrational and arbitrary. It therefore held that it follows that these provisions are unconstitutional and that the High Court's order to that effect must be confirmed. The court, however, did not deal with the issue of suspension, which is usually for 24 months to allow Parliament to remedy the defects in the legislation. We are therefore recommending that the committee invites the minister to, as soon as possible, address the committee on the steps that the department proposes to take to address the judgment and correct the defect. It is further recommended that the committee, through its oversight processes, stresses the need for Parliament to have sufficient time to consider the bill that will address, which will be brought by the department, that will address the concerns of the Constitutional Court. In this regard, we further recommend that the committee regularly review progress made by the executive in this regard, and during October 2024, consider the progress, and where progress is insufficient, consider what would be the most appropriate course of action to address the judgment and correct the defect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sopela. Members, this is a brief on the matter that is before the committee and the executive. And it's a matter that the minister may need to come before the committee and brief in relation to the response. Can I get a comment from members on this brief? Then I will allow the team, parliamentary legal team, to respond if there are issues that they need to deal with. Members? Mr. Matwensi, you will assist me.
Yeah, I only see one hand, Mr. Ross.
Okay. Honorable Ross?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Chair, I think we certainly agree with the recommendation. I think especially you need to look at the court judgment where it talks about the Department of Home Affairs officials having a duty to ensure that applicants who are not statutory excluded are given every reasonable opportunity to apply for their application. And so I think we've saw on the oversight the system that is in place and what we have there, and the DM's sort of commitment in terms of dealing with the corruption that we've seen at the refugee reception centers. And so I think we should support this and process it with due speed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Yazin?
No, Chair, I think we are not far from each other in terms of what needs to happen. Those of us who are in the oversight are aware of the situation in the refugee center and the processes that are happening there. So I think ours is to stress, on top of what the court judgment says in the recommendations from legal, we stress the efficiency of the department with respect to these issues. We can't be going to court from time to time to deal with issues that one thinks that we should have been able to handle differently. We must not always be reminded by court of our responsibilities for humanity and all of that. So I want us, when we, as much as we agree with the recommendations from the legal team, but we must stress to the department our the efficiency that we need to see the department operating with respect to this question that we're dealing with now. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ngubani and Honorable Ngubani and Honorable Nguben. Honorable Nguben?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I think, Chair, it's a simple and straightforward matter. We have to recommend for approval. It is what it is. It has to be implemented the way court has instructed us to do. On that, Chair, it's just to say we are compelled that the court is speaking about the real issues, that we do not expose these as asylum seekers on unnecessary issues. We just need to support it. We don't have an option, Chair. I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nguben. Honorable Nguben?
Thank you, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues, honorable members, and officials. I do also note, and I do agree with the colleagues that we have to proceed with this matter as stated. I do want us to also think about, colleagues, because this has been a matter also that I've been concerned about with regards to the fact that, you have these children who are in the middle of nowhere. In the United States, they call them the dreamers. So children born in South Africa with South African status, however, their parents are illegal migrants or immigrants, and they are left in the system. I'm not clear, Chair, as to how it is we deal with it in South Africa, because it is increasingly becoming a problem, particularly with these children being able to attain documentation, particularly those who have passed on, whose parents may have passed on and they're left in the ether. I think we really need to also, as we proceed with this matter, as a committee, begin to zoom in on that issue because it is becoming prevalent. And with that said, Chair, I really do agree with the recommendations of the legal team, and that we proceed. But I just wanted to note that on the agenda because I think it is something that we sometimes don't have oversight on, or nor do we lead on it. So I move that we proceed. Thank you, Chair and colleagues.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone, Mr. Matonsi, from Home Affairs?
Yeah, I think the DM is here. I saw him, and then also Mr. Malakate, the legal service from the department, and Muzi, and Mr. Rias, they are here.
Okay. Thanks, DM, and greetings. Can you have a comment, DM? I think the view is that we must invite the ministry, and I think we'll facilitate that correspondence and schedule for a response in relation to this order that we must implement. DM?
No, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, indeed, we are here with the legal team from Home Affairs. I think that we do notice the issues that have been raised, and we accept them. I think some of them we had already processed them with the Portfolio Committee on the oversight, as Honorable Ross is saying, in terms of the operational arrangements that we are putting in place to resolve the issues around the Refugee Reception Center and our refugee and asylum seeker regime. What we will do, Chairperson, is that as soon as we receive the invite from the Portfolio Committee and the date is locked, we will then come to the Portfolio Committee and then indicate what kind of a legal process we are setting up in order to comply with the court order. And the sooner the better from our side. We'll be willing to do so. I think on the issues of birth and of birth registration as raised by the member, we can also deal with it when we need to, just to appraise the members on the process of how we are processing issues of birth and making sure that it is the right set of people who enter the population register, and our plans around getting a 360-degree view of the entire people who come into the country, which will now include maintaining a database for all those kids, even though they are kids of foreign nationals, but not having them being in the database, but keep them in the population register, but keep the database so that we have a 360-degree view of everyone. It's part of our digitization plans, Chair. Thank you. Those are just a few comments we have.
Okay, thanks very much, TM. I think we will resolve that. We'll invite the ministry to present a detailed report or progress on the response of as a result of the court order, and also the issues that Honorable Ngobeni raised, and also that we have responded to, Deputy Minister. That I think Mr. Matonsi is how we're going to deal with the first item. Mr. Sopela, I think it's clear on the approach that we're taking.
Yes, Chair. We are happy with the resolutions of the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Sopela, for your time. Mr. Matonsi, can we then deal with the next item? We'll combine.
Okay, Chairperson.
Can you just share the agenda so that we assist to? Yeah, we'll run through the item number 4, 5, 6. Yeah, because those are just update which the committee has decisions on. Just 4, 5, 6, Mr. Matonsi.
Okay, Chairperson. Yes, Chairperson. The team that is here that will assist is Mr. Adam Salmon, Mr. Brent Simon, I could not get hold of him, but he was sent an invite. Probably he had some other commitments. So in terms of the public hearing chairperson on the marriage bill, as indicated, we are going to be doing public hearings in KZN and also in Gauteng for this 2024. Initially, the dates of the public hearings was that we are going to deal with KZN on the 8, 9, and 10, and then Gauteng on the 20, 21, and 22 of November, both of them. And then Mr. Simon, because he has got a team on the ground on another project on public hearing on health, he indicated that the district that we want to go to in KZN, they coincide with the public hearings of the bill in health. So he recommended that if we can swap in terms of the dates. So I did speak to chairperson about it. And then we are going to be starting with Gauteng on the 8, 9, and 10. And then we'll go to KZN on the 20th, until the 22nd of November. So yeah, that's that. And then we also have identified districts. I'm trying to share. We have identified districts that we are going to go, especially in KZN, because there are many districts there. Okay. Yes.
So can you share the presentation?
Yeah, I was just looking for it.
Just that because it's a public meeting, so.
Yeah. So these are the districts that we have identified. In KwaZulu-Natal is iThekwini Metropolitan Municipality, Umgungundlovu District Municipality, Ugu District Municipality, Umkhanyakude District Municipality, Zululand District Municipality, King Cetshwayo District Municipality, and then in Gauteng is all the 3 metros, Ekurhuleni Metro, Sidibeng District Municipality, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and then the West Rand. So we are looking at about 250 to 300 people to attend. And then like yesterday, we had a meeting which was facilitated by our unit manager, Dr. Ganyeza Twalo, with other internal stakeholders in parliament, such as languages, sound and vision. These are the group that when you go on public hearings, they have to assist the committee. So we are having another meeting on Monday next week just to update each other on where we are at the moment. You'll recall members have been sent in a form to complete by Mr. Arendse. The form is required by the House Chair for members to commit on any oversight or public hearing. So I know some members did send a form before we swap the dates. If members can redo it for the new dates, and then I'm sure Mr. Arendse has already sent those forms to members so that we can quickly get the quotation for flights, accommodation in the district that we're going to be going. I think that's that from my side, and then I'm not sure if Mr. Simon will have anything to add on the issue of the public hearings. Over to Mr. Simon if he's able to add something.
No, thank you, Chair. It has covered everything. Just to indicate maybe that we are engaging with the municipalities to ensure that all the different stakeholders from the different religious and cultural groups and the ones who made submissions are included in the public hearing. So the relevant people who have an interest in this are included in the debates. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. The decision of the committee, Mr. Matonsi and Mr. Salmo, just to remind, and I thought you'll brief also members, is that there was a request that we must interact with the speakers in the municipalities. And secondly, we must get notes that you have referred as a workshop that was conducted by the Parliamentary Education Unit that they're going to use to conduct workshops throughout the areas we've identified. And those notes must be before the committee so that members of the committee and other members of parliament are able to circulate those notes to their constituency offices for mobilization in assisting the committee and also the unit. So can we get a sense, or is a matter that will be dealt by Mr. Brent?
Chairperson, I will answer on the issue of the municipalities. I just forgot to mention that. I'm drafting letters because when our group goes for this public engagement, especially the public education, they need letters so that they are able to approach the legislature in those provinces. They are able to also to approach the office of the speakers. So I've drafted letters for the Gauteng province so far in terms of where we should be going. So for all the metros, so those letters I'll share with you immediately after the meeting, and then from there I'll continue with the one for KZN, so that at least we inform them, and also we are also asking them to assist us in terms of accommodation. I mean, for venues, so that so those are the issues. And then in terms of the other issue of the notes, I think Adam will speak about that, but what I know is that Adam did the public participation unit with some notes, and then he did conduct training for the officials that are going to go onto the ground. I don't have the final notes myself, but I thought Mr. Simon will be here in the meeting today. So unless if maybe Adam has got anything to add, but I will make a follow-up with Mr. Simon just to get those notes.
Okay, before members come in, I want Mr. Matonsi and Mr. Salmon. We have prepared this meeting on this item, and we've resolved that all the issues presented in the meeting, including the education unit, in terms of the preparations and other related matters. And now we're not bringing a full report, which also disadvantage members to interface with the report. Let me bring members so that we get guidance. But I thought that, and I don't think that it looks good that we come with half issues that there's no clarity on the issues that we're dealing with. Members, can I invite? Or can I check, before members, Mr. Brent, is it in the meeting?
No, Chair, but can I just quickly add, just on the briefing notes for the public education officers?
Also, Mr. Brent is not in the meeting. The public, let me say, the public education unit are not in the meeting. Okay, you can add.
Yes, Chairperson, they are not there.
Okay, you can add the members to come and guide. Can you add?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to indicate that when I did the training with the public education officers, I took them through the actual entire bill, like clause by clause, with all the details and a summary of all these public submissions. So they've got detailed training. But then in terms of the pamphlets that they're going to be educating with, we sent it to them to revise, because the initial one that we showed you said that there must be some changes to the appearance of the not the content but the appearance of the flyers, and so those we sent back to them, but they didn't send us the revised image, but they must already be using it. So we've asked them for it, but we haven't received it yet. But basically it's just a summary of the bill, highlight of the bill. But we can we'll send it to members as soon as we get it from the public education office. Chair.
Okay, Honorable Mudisimza and Honorable Ruas and Honorable Ngobeni. Honorable Mudisimza.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think you have briefly indicated the dissatisfaction with regard to the report we are getting today. The public participation hearings will take place in the next week or so. by now, Chair, we should be having a clear plan on how we are going to move forward to those. For an example, we are being given a district names and metro names where we are going to conduct these hearings, but there are no clear stipulated dates on those, and equally on the venues where we are going. I hear the Secretary, Mr. Matonsi, speaking about writing letters. He is writing letters now to request assistance from those municipalities where we are going to conduct those public participation, meaning that the response will not come today or tomorrow. So we will be going to these public hearings not knowing clearly where are the venues. And that also hampers on the mobilization of members of the society to come to participate in these public hearings. Last minute communications, it's not going to assist us members. We also on our side as political parties would also want to go and embark on our constituencies and be able to mobilize members to come and attend and participate in these public hearings. But with a report and a plan that is half cooked, as it has been presented this morning, Chair, it really defeats the purpose. Also, equally, it's disappointing that the public participation unit from Parliament is not here. You'd remember that in the previous time when they appeared in a portfolio committee, they gave us a clear plan on how they must conduct their public participation preparations prior to the committee going to conduct those hearings, meaning that we should be getting a confirmation from themselves currently what work have been done already, because they have supposed to have moved into the areas 3 weeks or 2 weeks prior before our arrival. And a failure of this report indicating if that work has already been done really, Chair, is problematic for myself. So really, I'm not sure if we will really have a success public participation hearing that we endeavor to conduct, as the prescripts also of the Constitution requires us to do an extensive and a thorough public participation process. But with this committee administrators and secretaries, or the committee that is planning for this public participation, I think they are really plunging the committee into a crisis or into a failure. And we do not want to find ourselves having to do work and conduct our work that is not that will not be properly executed. So we really urge, Chair, that can the team go back and really come back and give us a thorough and a proper report that is inclusive of all the details, so that we also as members of the committee are able to plan properly. But in a week or 2 weeks' time, we are supposed to going out and be conducting this public hearing. So really, it's disappointing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Simza. Ross?
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm covered in terms of expressing the disappointment. This is not the first time this kind of thing has happened. I think we were the only committee last term to not go on an oversight because arrangements were just not made and things were allowed to drag and things didn't happen. Chair, I'm concerned about the first dates. I think it's too late to have them, and there should be a consideration that be moved out. Because at the end of the day, if we don't know where we're going, then it's guaranteed that persons have not been trained or sensitized. So we had it with the electoral bill, where we went to places and people arrived there and they said, "Where is the bill? We don't know what you're talking about." So they had been brought to a public meeting. They didn't even know what the bill was. And if you look at a municipal environment, for example, when you present your IDP, they first do a PowerPoint presentation explaining the whole thing, and then so that everybody understands what it is, etc. But now, if we're saying we don't even know where we're going, then it's guaranteed that persons have not been informed. So if they arrive there, they will not even know what to contribute. So I seriously think we need to relook at that first one, the dates, and perhaps try and find another time to do it, because we're just out of time with that one. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ross. Honorable Ngobeni?
Thank you, Chairperson. I think the previous speakers have covered me. I just want to add the part where this public participation is actually very, very important. And we always find it scant when we're trying to solicit public views, and you find that we don't reach sufficient critical mass that we need to make what we're doing valid, or at least plausible in the eyes of the public, I just want to check with the colleagues whether part of the stakeholder group or base is young people, particularly those who are in universities, whether we are including them as part of the members of the public who could potentially participate in meaningful ways. I'm just putting it to the coordinator of our portfolio committee there to make sure that we at least invite particularly universities to these things, so that young people begin to be part of the process going forward, because those are that's the missing link for us. If we can satisfy ourselves in that regard, I'd be most grateful. But I definitely echo the sentiments of the colleagues, because it costs money to do these things, and if we get there and it's half-baked, it actually, doesn't bode well for our work as members of parliament. So I just wanted to add that little bit, but I definitely concur with what the previous speakers have mentioned. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngobeni. I see the hand of Mr. Salmon and then Mr. Matonzi. Mr. Salmon?
Chair, I think let Eddie go first. I'll follow. Thank you, Chair.
I hear what members are saying. Like as I indicated, and then I'll be sending the letters to Chairperson to approve them today, so that they can be sent over to the legislature municipalities. And then, that's what I could add at the moment.
Mr. Salmon?
Yeah, and thank you, Chair. Sorry, we didn't give more detailed account of what's actually going on. It's not that we've been resting on our laurels here. We've been having an extensive meeting with all the different stakeholders in terms of safety and health, public education. There's like six different units in Parliament that are all involved. We're meeting with them, and the education is already ongoing in the provinces, and so the ball is rolling. The letters to the municipalities also just also in terms of once we'd finalize the dates, because remember the two dates swapped between the two provinces, so that's shifted. But the education is already happening, and we've already got an extensive planning process in place. It's just a question of making sure that the members get hold of the venues, because there's two venue options for each of the districts, and we're narrowing down with the respective areas which of those two venues are appropriate, and that's in terms of they're going to be checked for health and safety before we finalize them. But we'll let members know in the course of this week, by the end of this week, and that means it's still 2 weeks before the actual first hearings start happening. So there will be some time to mobilize the respective staff, the respective community members before we get there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. This is how we're going to summarize and have a way forward. We must accept that we did not do a good work to brief members. And if you were ready, everything that you are saying verbatim, you could have brought them into the report. And when we took this decision, it was almost 3 weeks ago or 2, on what is expected. We met at Menco and we dealt with the approach and the report that was presented in this committee. Now, we're not going to rush members to, in principle, this meeting then suggests we must shift the dates. And we'll deal with that matter when we meet with the administrators. And I also note the disappointment of members. We're raising this because when we're dealing with the electoral public hearings, we arrive at the venue or so, the community, some of them, they don't even know what is the meetings convened to deal with what. Members of the education unit are not there, not where to be found, nowhere to be found. So I think almost two issues. We're going to meet tomorrow immediately. Mr. Matonsi, Mr. Adams, at 8 o'clock, you must invite Dr. Twalo, who's the administrator of the whole team. And you must invite the public hearings, public education team. We then develop the report and the details around what members are requesting, so that we're not going to be contested outside because of short notice, inadequate public hearings, enough time. So in principle, the time frame that we've scheduled, it may need to be reconsidered. So we'll meet tomorrow at 8 o'clock on this subject matter to deal with this. The letter to be sent to public, to municipality, doesn't need the chairperson to approve. A letter to say that we're going to conduct public hearings, these are people are coming, and so on and so forth, because a decision was taken in this meeting. And the public education unit, in their workshop, when they're workshopping the members of the committee in this meeting, they outline process, detail, and how we must conduct. And the decision was taken that once they've conducted workshop, come back to the committee, brief the committee on the notes you have crafted and resolved for purpose of a workshop, so that members use also those notes that we're going to use to circulate to their constituencies and other stakeholders that are initiating. So all the issues that members have raised, we'll take account them tomorrow. I think we must stand off this item. Can we move to another item?
Yes, Chair. The next one is just the legislation that are before the committee. Is the Electoral Commission Amendment Bill that was introduced in 2023. And then there's one.
Share the agenda.
Chairperson. Oh. Okay. Can you see, Chair?
Yeah, I can proceed.
Yeah, I was saying the bills that are before the committee is the Electoral Commission Amendment Bill. That's the private members bill that deals with the issue of the
referendum.
The referendum, I'm sorry. That deals with the issue of referendum that was introduced in 2023, I think around December. Then the other one is the one-stop border post, which was recently introduced by the department. Then the one that is also before the two that are before the committee at the moment that we are processing is the marriage bill, the one that we just spoke about in terms of the public hearings. And then there's immigration amendment bill that deals with Section 34 of the Act in terms of the arrest and deportation of illegal immigrants. And also we also in the process we were advertising the immigration amendment bill and the party funding NA resolution. The immigration amendment bill advert, I have not yet received the purchase order. It was supposed to have gone over this past weekend. I think Mr. Arendse is working on it. The party funding on the National Assembly resolution, I just got the purchase order last night. So I'll be sending this to the service provider to start working on advertising. And then also the other thing that I wanted to indicate, Chairperson, was that on the issue of the one-stop border post, we have to schedule it so that the minister can brief the committee. If we can also include the issue of the judgment that was presented by Mr. Sopela, to have the minister come and brief us on the one-stop border post and also on that judgment. And then the Electoral Commission Amendment Bill, and also to start the process, because it takes time for languages to translate into other languages and also to go through the SCM process. So if we were to advertise anything, I would suggest that maybe the committee consider that we start with the issue of, processing the issue of the advertisement before the festive season starts. That's all, Chair, from my side.
Okay, members, these are the 3 or 2 issues. The one-stop border post bill that has been tabled, adverts which have been briefed, the bills that have been briefed, Immigration Amendment Bill. We've taken a decision, we received a detailed brief. We're just waiting for advert. Political party funding, or also are waiting on the resolution for the advert. I think also we'll get a detailed brief tomorrow's meeting when we deal with the administration. Now that it's November, deadline and other issues related responses, when are we going to schedule for oral submissions on this matter? So it will change to deal with the issue of our program and agenda. We may need to look on this Electoral Commission Amendment Bill to reschedule it later. And members, I think given the bill that we're going to deal with, it appears that we're going to have congested time, given that we're going to interface on public hearings. We may need to rework the team on the issues that are before the committee. Can I invite members to comments, but because these are this update on the difficulties they're facing. But tomorrow we'll be able to give clarity on the process with their leader, Dr. Twalo, on the issues. There's one point which I want to get from Parliamentary Legal Services in terms of the resolution. Maybe they thought about it when I was going through the resolution. The issue of the independent candidates in relation to this resolution on donations, on funding. How do we deal with it? It appears that it's not reflecting, or is my reading, Telana, I could not, but it appears that we're not dealing with the independent candidates. Members, can we invite you to comment on these 2 items? Honorable
Chairperson, there's 3. Yeah.
Honorable Disemsa, Honorable Kochana, and Honorable Ngoben. Honorable Disemsa.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think taking into consideration the time constraints and the congested program, I just want to recommend that we may also need to have a thoroughly planned or a proper roadmap on how we are going to process these bills, and also be able to take into consideration some that already we have timeframes on, some that would have been Concord's decisions with timeframes. We may need then to have a roadmap or a plan on how we are going to process them, taking into consideration again the order of priority in dealing with these bills. I think in the next meeting or presentation, when these bills are being brought forward, they must be coupled then with that roadmap that speaks to the processing of the bills, moving from one process to the next process on how we are going to move forward until the end of the year when we close off the term. And also we can even speak to the roadmap that speaks to the beginning of the year when we Parliament reopen, so that we then have a smooth functioning or processing of these bills. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Disemsa. Honorable Kochana.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to colleagues. Chair, I just want to reiterate what Honorable Mudisa had said, that we will have to have a roadmap and specific timelines, and so that we don't overlap the bills, and also in order of priority, and more importantly, the update from the Minister's office, especially around the one-stop border post bill, that some of our members in the provincial sectors are asking about the resolutions from our committee at national level. So we will need to have a proper structure, how we're going to do this, and then in order of priority, so that we can get all of this, we can go through it and come with resolutions before we go on the break. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Ngobeni and Honorable Machi. Honorable Ngobeni.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mine is just to concur with Honorable Modisi. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Machi. Honorable Ngobeni, or is a legacy hand? Okay. Thank you very much. I think Mr. Matonsi, is that clear on the issues?
Yes, Chair, it's clear.
Okay. Telana? Daksha?
Hi, Chairperson. It's Talana here. Yes, Chairperson. So, as you know, the Political Funding Act was amended, and Section 8.2 of the Political Funding Act had stated that it provides that political parties may not accept a donation from a person for a certain threshold for that financial year. It did not include independent candidates. This was a decision that was made by the executive. It was a policy decision, and it wasn't amended. But 9.1A was amended in terms of including independent candidates and independent representatives regarding the disclosure of the donations. So independent candidates and independent representatives still have to disclose above a prescribed amount, but there is no threshold in terms of what they receive. And I think the department can provide more clarity with regards to that executive decision on why it wasn't amended.
Okay.
So they are included in terms of the disclosure threshold, but not on the disclosure threshold, but not on the prescribed amount for the financial year of receiving donations.
Okay. Can we, the team, I'll propose that we need to check that area with yourself and the legal team, and also with the IC, just to get clarity on those two issues, so that and brief the committee. I think that will assist us. I think the next committee meeting, we may need to take the committee into confidence on the issues. I hope the advert by that time will still be not being publicized, but let's just have a way.
Chairperson? Adam, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Eddie.
Chairperson having technical issues, I think. Yeah, but it's on the system.
The network is not doing justice on some of these places.
Yeah. Ms. Mudisa, if you can take over.
I think the chair was merely wrapping up the meeting, Mr. Matonsi. If probably there's other items that we must deal with, can we move then to the next agenda item?
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
can move, but I think I saw Delana's hand. I'm not sure if it was a legal hand before the chairperson disappeared.
Yeah, sorry, Eddie. I just wanted to be clear that so there is no upper limit donation for independent candidates, only for political parties. But there is a disclosure threshold for political parties, independent candidates, and independent representatives. And that is how the Political Funding Act reads currently. If there is political will or there is a move to amend that section 8.2 to include independent candidates, that has to be done prior to changing any resolution or changing any advert, because currently the reading of the Political Funding Act is that independent candidates are not included in terms of the upper limit donation in terms of section 8.2 of the Political Funding Act. And that's what I just wanted to make clear.
Thanks, Telana. Members, I'm not sure if we would want to deal with the issue that Telana is raising, but I believe that it's of importance, taking into consideration that we have recently made those amendments to include the independent to participate. Now, it will be important that they are not necessarily excluded from the upper limits of the donations. Can we then get the views from the members on this matter, on how we should approach it moving forward, so that we are able to deal with it properly and from what is required from ourselves as a committee? Can I get hands to comment just on this matter that Telana has raised?
There are two hands.
Yes, I see Honorable Rose. You'll go first, and Honorable Mutambi. In that order.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just not sure. I remember seeing where we got this briefing before this meeting, because it would be good, as the chair was saying, to just have a proper report on it that we can consider and then give our inputs. So let's get clarity on that. I don't remember seeing it.
Thank you, Honorable Mutambi.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning, all colleagues. I think as we do the amendments, it's an opportunity to also cue any other defects on the legislations that we might come across. Because definitely, as and when we do public participation, there are issues that people are going to raise. And I think instead of us doing the amendment piecemeal, we can then incorporate everything that needs to be addressed, as long as we also comply with the court order. But if there are other defects that may come, I should think then we'll have to consider that, depending on the inputs, because there's definitely interest on this political funding act. So definitely those things, as and when we do public participation, people will raise them. That's the point that I wanted to say. We'll be queuing the defect in the complying with the court order, but at the same time, there might be other aspects of the act that people will feel that they need to be reviewed. In particular, from where I come from, my NGO, there are issues that people are going to raise on this political party funding. So I should think then it addressed the latter speaker on the question raised with regard to the issue of the threshold, with regard to the disclosure of the independence. So it's all those other related issues that, as and when we do this public hearing and also responding to the court order, we'll have to also consider any other submission that we'll have to deal to say that this act then can be amended. That was my take, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Telana.
Thank you, Chair. We are not amending the Political Funding Act. The item on the agenda was to discuss the advert that will go out regarding call for submissions for the resolution that will then affect the regulation that the president will gazette. So currently, the Political Funding Act is not being amended. It has been amended, but it's not being amended currently. What we are currently doing is doing a resolution. So there is no amendments to the Political Funding Act. But if there is a call to amend the Political Funding Act, that is a separate issue. And I think at the moment we should ask the IEC or the department to present to this committee as to what is the reasoning behind not including independent candidates in Section 8.2 of the Political Funding Act. And if there's a need to include them, then that should be done through an amendment bill. But currently the amendment is not, the Political Funding Act is not being amended.
Thank you very much for that clarity. I think the MANCO will be able to process that, but clearly there would be a need for this matter not to be left behind, and we will find a proper process for it to, so that it is attended to and it is dealt with. Thank you very much, members. Can we then move to the next item, Mr. Matonzi?
Yes, the last item is done by Mr. Salmon on the PPFA.
Thank you, honourable members. I believe the chairperson is back with us. I can see. Eddie, if I can just confirm that the document is displayed.
Yes, I can see it.
Thank you. Good morning again, honourable members. Just to indicate that the BRRR is the biggest output of this committee each year, and it includes all the submissions that the committee would have gotten on its budget, its plans, the plans and the annual reports of the entities that the committee oversees. So this is basically a consolidation of all the different reports that we've done thus far. And so members will have remembered all the annual report presentations we received just over a week ago. So we've been working to incorporate all those information as well as the recommendations from our oversight into this report. It's quite a bit of work. You'll see it's a 50-page document. So I don't think I want to belabor going into every single detail of the report. We have distributed it, and it's largely a summary, as I indicated, of the issues we are already familiar with. What I will take members through is just an idea of the sections in the report if they haven't had a chance to read it. And then what I think we need to focus on in terms of adopting the report today, because it's due this week, is on the recommendations as well as the observations that we try to summarize from the members' input during the oversight and the engagement on the annual report. So to indicate that we have just an introduction indicating the general context in which the report commences. Obviously, this is a new administration, and so there is some overlap between the work of this committee and the last committee. Primarily, what is included in this report is the work that's been done by this committee, but there is some work that's still carried over from the previous committee. We then highlight the legal mandate of the committee in terms of these BRRR reports, and basically what we need to do is we need to adopt these budget recommendations prior to the medium-term budget statement by the Minister of Finance, so that they can be considered as part of the amendments to the budget for the medium term, but also before the budget in the following year. And so these are kind of a part of the documents that are considered by National Treasury. And then we just go over the highlight of what the Department of Home Affairs includes, its different budget programs, as well as the same for the Electoral Commission, what their legal mandate is and what their programs are, same for the Government Printing Works and the Border Management Authority, which is a newly appointed entity formalized last year in April. And so we give a little bit more detail on the operations of the Border Management Authority. Members also will recall that in July we received a briefing on the budgets and plans of the Department of Home Affairs, including its vision and mission and its 2019 to 2024 commitments. The commitments for the 24 to 29 have not been formalized properly in terms of the new government of national unity priorities, and so those will need to be revised in the new year. But these are the frameworks as they stand that are still relevant until the end of this year. And these, for instance, include the secure management of international migration, the secure and efficient management of citizenship, efficient asylum seeker and refugee system, securing the population register, and that the DHA's position to contribute positively to a capable and developmental state. So there's a high level overarching targets that apply to this department and the committee. We then just indicate the targets set for the DHA at the beginning of the year, and we'll cover these, how these were achieved or not achieved, in the annual report overview later. But here it's more to indicate what the budget was allocated and what the plans in line with those budgets were. Again, to not go into too much detail, but just to give an overview. So those are classified according to the different targets. So this document is a good reference when we're needing to check on the targets and what their budgets are in any future work going forward throughout the year. But that again broken down by operations, human resources, counter corruption, finance, etc. We then included the budget analysis of how the budget compares to previous years. Notable there is that there's almost 2 billion rand less than in the previous year, primarily due to funding given to reduced funding to the Electoral Commission since they got a bigger budget to prepare for the elections, and also a reduction in citizen affairs sponsorship because there was significant more funding for the digitization project in previous years. Then we do the same in terms of the budget allocations for the BMA and the APP. The main issues raised by members on the budget and annual performance plan are also included as part of the recommendations. And we then do the same, the budget and annual performance plan of the IEC summarized with the budget allocations per program and targets outlined there. The same applies for the GPW budget and APP. All the different programs, their targets and their budgets listed there as a high-level overview. We then move to section 3, which relates to these are the deliberations that the members raised on the budget and annual performance plan. This was in our budget report that we briefed the committee on, and the issues again are found as part of our recommendations. We're not going to go into detail on that because we've already briefed the committee on this report. Then the DHA annual report, we then go to the various annual reports by section. And this members, we received again these briefings last week, just overviewing of how the department has performed and its meeting of targets or missing of targets, basically indicating that the department is stuck at about 70% achievement of its targets for the past couple of years, as well as receding on its audit finding from a qualified to an unqualified report. I mean, so from an unqualified report to a qualified report. Just highlighting the significant unauthorized and irregular expenditure, which again we use as a recommendation. High-level overview of the HR and then emphasis on the Auditor General's findings, which we again have condensed as a recommendation. We then do the same for the IEC annual reports, which obviously had far less issues. They met all their targets as well as got a clean audit. But there are still a few recommendations raised by members there. The government printing works have significantly improved on their audit reporting, away from a disclaimer to a qualified report. But there are obviously still some significant performance related issues. Although they achieved 80% of their targets, there are obviously some challenges around the human resources and its collaboration with management. For the members who weren't on the oversight trip, we'll highlight some of these issues related to the relationship between management and unions in our deliberations section, which comes a little later. A big issue there also with the GPW is they had two significant data losses and without sufficient backup, which let them lose like a lot of the financial data that they required for reporting in the last couple of years, hence leading to the disclaimers and uncertainty around the validity of the content of their annual reports. They have managed this year to submit their annual report in time, and there is an improved audit finding, which is a good development. The main indication there in terms of budget shortages was just the fact that there was insufficient funding provided for the expenditure on infrastructure due to the GPW still subsidizing documents that it provides to the Department of Home Affairs, and that's not running at a profit that they feel is sufficient. Yeah, and then the Auditor General issues there, although improved, are still significantly outstanding from the previous years, were around data loss, that there are still weaknesses in terms of the internal controls, particularly in the ICT system, that financial reporting, there were still misstatements on the valuation of property and equipment, and that the revenue recognition was not accurate in terms of what the records were versus how they were reconciliated by management. The Board of Management Agency, as members are aware, didn't submit their annual report and indicating that it will only be available in November by November 30th, so around 2 months after it's due to be considered. However, we do include a section in the oversight report that overviews the performance reporting that the BMA made available to us during the oversight, as well as recommendations on how to address the budget shortages and the challenges around reconciliating all the different assets from the different government entities that are ceding functions to the BMA. Then the oversight to the Gauteng headquarters and facilities. We attempt to capture here the main interactions that we had with the various entities. Here, basically, the briefing we had by the Auditor General on the entire portfolio. These are again captured as recommendations. As well as the trip that we had with, or the interactions that the committee had with the Corruption and Security Services, which had 3 directorates of vetting, prevention and analysis, and investigations. We then also interacted with the contact center, the permitting section, and then went to the Tshwane Refugee Reception Center. And we summarized the presentation and walkabout that we had at that facility, in terms of also the numbers of refugee asylum applications, new and outstanding. The issues raised at the center are also again captured as recommendations at the end of the report, but they're in more detailed here on page 38. The committee then went to the civic services building where the main records are recorded. That's called the BVR building. A big part of that is the 3,000 interns that are busy digitizing the records of the department. And there are increased plans for expansion of this digitization at 3 different new facilities, where they're going to move the digitization from 100,000 records per month to almost 2 million per month, to digitize the entire record of the department, which are around 340 million, dating back all the way to 1800. The Lindela Repatriation or Deportation Center, just outside of Krugersdorp, has around 1,500 current deportees, but has capacity for up to 4,000. And we were exposed to the facilities as well as the detainees. Members witnessed some of the conditions of the kitchen and accommodation, as well as indications from the detainees of their objections. The committee also engaged with like a long-term detainee group that or that there were protesters that encountered violence and weren't willing to return to their communities, and protested for some time living in camps, and have now been accommodated at Lindela, where they have some freedom of movement. They aren't detainees, but they indicated they do not wish to be reintegrated, and in fact want to be relocated to other countries. And so we interacted briefly with them, and they indicated their challenges, which we also addressed as a recommendation. The Border Management Authority, as indicated, briefed us on their performance thus far in the year and the reasons for the delay in their annual report. They have received a significant staffing complement already from the various departments, including 1,200 from Home Affairs, 340 from Health, 14 from Forestry and Fisheries, and 372 from Agriculture and Rural Development. There are also 400 border guards and 50 coast guards in operation. The primary issues are around budget, are that the BMA is not receiving receiving only about 10% of the budget that they've requested, and they have also received additional budget from the criminal asset recovery account, but again only 150 million of the 500 million that they requested. So they've indicate functioning at a significant deficit. The main issues there were basically how they were adapting to this budget shortage, and how they were in constant engagement with the National Treasury to expand their budget and work within the limitations. again, but they indicated that they requested a budget of 2.9 billion and only received 250 million. Combined with the 150 million received from the Criminal Asset Recovery account, which is under the Department of Constitutional Development. We just then go into, apart from the annual report, the government printing works, we had engagements with the management around their misgivings with the labor unions, and their indication was that there was disagreement between the two different unions, NAHAU and PSA, and that there was a lack of willingness from unions to engage with them, whereas and that they felt that the unions were trying to co-manage the government printing works. There were also disciplinary action being taken, and the unions want to be involved in this, and they felt that this was interference. They also indicated that there was certain work that was not done due to illegal work stoppage, and this had impacted on the reputation of the GPW. The two unions then presented to the committee and raised a number of different issues around access to personal protective equipment, which hadn't been done in some time, according to them. They also alleged that they were in fear of their jobs whenever they made any complaints about the management structures. They also indicated irregularities in terms of how the cleaning and security staff were appointed, as well as they're alleging that the management were not sufficiently had been complicit in the two data losses due to not following proper procedures in terms of ensuring that the data was sufficiently backed up, and other minor. They've also indicated that they've communicated these issues to the Minister of Home Affairs and are still awaiting engagement on that. So NOHAU raised much of the same issues. They also just indicated that there were many smart IDs that were sitting on the system and not being printed, and that a lot of the machines or a lot of work was being outsourced when it could have been done in-house due to lack of machinery or lack of staff. The committee then conducted a walkabout of the facilities where the passports and IDs are processed or manufactured. And due to the engagement with the unions, the committee decided to conduct an unannounced visit to the GPW's old printing facilities at Bosman Street. It was witnessed that the building is in quite a derelict state. It hasn't been maintained for some time, in part due to because the committee with the printing facilities were supposed to be moved to the new offices, but hadn't been done due to delays relating to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure moving the new equipment, providing suitable infrastructure for the offices to move. There were also various sections, each of which indicated lack of maintenance of machinery and the suitable consumables being available to produce various documents, and hence also leading to much outsourcing. So significant concerns there, which we're again trying to capture here, which leads us to the two final sections, which are the main engagement of this committee with the entities and the National Treasury, which we try to capture as deliberations and then related recommendations. Where possible, we've indicated when the issue was raised, how an answer was given to that from the respective entities. And then if insufficient, the answer, then these are captured as recommendations. Just to indicate that in the engagement with the Auditor General, the committee was concerned that the GBW was not fully implementing the recommendations of the Ministerial Review Panel on the data loss. And the answer was that the GBW and DHA are using consultants to improve the financial performance, but that there was a need to improve how this was reported on. Secondly, 8.2, that the committee was concerned that there was no investigation and consequence management on irregular expenditure. The answer from the Auditor General was that the Loss Control Committee is now in place, but it is not investigating the old outstanding irregular expenditure. With respect to the DHA on the e-visa applications, there was a slow uptake because the system was not user-friendly, and the e-visa system has been slow, and some countries have reverted to the manual process, was the answer there. The committee expressed concern that officials at the ports of entry were able to override security features on their own without the intervention of a supervisor. The issue was, there was issues that raised by the AG were the same issues that were raised some of the issues were the same issues as those that were raised in 2019. And in what kind of training was needed to improve on these old issues, such as on accounting standards, and whether this was just an issue of training or it was an issue of vacancies. The AG indicated that there was need for ongoing continual training to prevent misreading of regulations. The committee was concerned about the slow implementation of the ABIS system, automatic biometric identification system, and what's causing these delays. And the AG indicated that was the lack of implementation of the facial recognition component, as well as ineffective monitoring of the project's implementation by the department. The committee and AGA commended the IEC on their good performance. However, they were concerned about the irregular expenditure of 3.2 million per year on office accommodation. In terms of the DHA, observations were that the committee expressed concern that the DHA had not met 29% of its targets, and the achievement rate of 71% was the same as in previous years. The DHA spent almost all of its budget, while in some programs it only achieved 40% of the targets. It was concerning that the target for digitization of the records was 36 million, and only 800,000 had been digitized. The DHA was not yet allowing naturalized citizens, permanent resident holders, and citizens born abroad to apply for smart ID cards as it had planned. The department has a contingent liability of over 2 billion rand, and are there any legislative changes that were needed to address this? Regarding the infrastructure at ports of entry, whether there were plans to upgrade and ensure that the matter of the porous border was resolved. With the non-compliance with legislation, what was the consequent management implemented and measurables in place that it does not happen? It was reported that there was lack of connectivity at health facilities to register births within 30 days, and the committee needed measures to be put in place to ensure birth is registered in most of the health facilities in the country, and there should be a distinction between rural and urban facilities. The department indicated that it is expanding to 161 health facilities, but expansion also requires access to self-funding, which is where the department, the income that they make from selling documents, rather than giving it to the National Treasury completely or to the Revenue Fund, they're able to keep some of that income that they make towards their expenditures. The implementation of ABIS was delayed and the time frames for the project were unclear. DHA should collaborate with other law enforcement to deal with people who were lingering outside the Tshwane Refugee Reception Center. The appointment of senior officials at the Tshwane Refugee Reception Center is critical. The committee was not satisfied with the asylum presentation, indicating that some of the information was outdated. The committee was also concerned about syndicates that were operating outside the center. And the committee was concerned about the deportation costs because the failed asylum seekers needed to be deported to their country of origin. There was an answer indicating that there were about 1,123 deportees at present, and running the facility cost the department around 6 million rand per month and an annual budget of 60 to 70 million rand. The observations for the BMA from the committee were that they were concerned that the BMA was not able to table its annual report because the transfer of functions from the other departments had not been completed in time, and the BMA indicated that the transfer process was challenging and the entity only took the frontline staff without any of the corporate staff to provide administrative support. According to the committee, the BMA had an unfunded mandate. There were still departments that should complete the transfer of funds and staff. The BMA is in funding discussions with National Treasury and is working to generate funds through fines and billing. That was their answer. What is being done to collect fines and penalties and whether this money will be surrendered to the National Revenue Fund. The BMA indicated that it had meetings with airlines regarding the penalties and fines to make payments, but most of the fines and penalties were from the Beitridge border post. The equipment that was transferred from other departments was outdated and obsolete, and what were the critical tools that were needed by the BMA? The BMA received outdated equipment. It needs tools such as firearms, body cams, and uniforms. The ethics workshops that BMA will be conducted should have been at the beginning of the establishment of the entity, and it appears that there were no current wellness programs. And the committee noted that the BMA was using Armscor to procure arms, and the entity stated that SAPS and SENDF also used Armscor, and that most of the equipment that the BMA needed were drones and firearms. GPW observations. The committee noted that GPD has a challenge with DPW in respect of refurbishment and construction of its head office. And GPDW indicated that it had experienced a 12-year wait for facilities for new equipment due to challenges. It also appears that the DHA and GPW have issues with services that are offered by CETA on ICT, and that CETA was delaying the enterprise resource program at GPW as well as ICT projects at the DHA. GPW employs artisans, but these artisans are hunted by the private sector, and GPW should provide the committee with a list of debtors, especially government departments, and why the entity hiring a law firm is to collect debts. The GPW answered that they are facing significant challenges with the artisans being hired away by the private sector, and as such has a 58% vacancy rate. And the committee was concerned about the ongoing bad relationship between the labor union and management. IEC, the committee raised the issue of voter turnout during elections, especially among young people and people, and what other strategies will the IEC employ for the youth. There was a suggestion of automatic registration when a voter turns 18 years old, and the IEC being available at universities. It was also raised on the issue of people arriving at voting stations with guns and people campaigning at voting stations. There were some people who wore party regalia and some who took photos after voting. The issue of transparency is an important matter, and it was pointed out that transparency ends at the voting stations and the electoral process should be more open. The issue of auditing party funding was raised, and of what would be the process. The committee felt that the elections of 2024, there were no proper outreach programs because some voters were not aware that there would be 3 ballots, and this might have created long queues at the voting stations. And the committee commended the IEC for its financial performance on obtaining a clean audit, and but it was concerned with the irregular expenditure of 3.2 million on office accommodation. The outstanding recommendations are from the previous indicated from the previous BRRR reports here to in terms of keeping track of how the recommendations are monitored. Just to indicate that in previous years, the department had provided the committee with an update after 6 months on all the issues raised, and this had not been done in the previous year. So we haven't gotten a finalized update. So these are just outstanding based on what we can assess from the reports that we received from the Department of Home Affairs. Being that the department should strive towards a clean audit, in particular, the impairment of revenue from connecting penalties, and that the Auditor General management letter must continue to form part of the future performance reports of the committee. The committee was operating at only 40%. I mean, the department is operating at only 42% of its capacity, and that the immigration branch only met 25% of its targets. So this was partially addressed, but in terms of the improvement on targets, but that the capacity was still very low, and that the capacitation business case to fund was still outstanding, particularly for immigration branch. Report on the delay of the procurement of the passenger name recognition system was still not received, and the report on the appointment of consortium to appoint a new visa facilitation service was still not received, and the report back from CSIR and CETA collaboration on what measures would be implemented and needed funding to improve network stability. And the department continues to face challenges similar to those reported in previous years, including network connectivity, long queues, inefficient and inadequate office accommodation, capacity constraints, fraud, and corruption. So a very general statement there. The outstanding issues for the government printing was that we should ensure that there was a state printers bill submitted to Parliament. That's still outstanding, and that the Minister of Home Affairs should ensure that all the recommendations of the Ministerial Review Panel on data loss are implemented. There are still 20% outstanding of those recommendations, and the committee would need to convene a meeting with the GPW, National Treasury, and Internal Audit, and to engage with the Minister on the effectiveness and accountability of GPW management. We still need to do that as a committee. The Electoral Commission, South African citizens who have lost citizenship as a result of acquiring another citizenship, without informing the Minister of Home Affairs. There's a Concourt case that declares this as unconstitutional, and it was recommended that this be addressed prior to the 2024 elections, which it wasn't. And the IEC need to report on the procurement of the building for its national office to prevent unnecessary further high irregular expenditure on rental of its current offices. So those are recommendations that are outstanding from the prior year. In terms of the recommendations for 2024, based on the continuous engagement with the Department of Home Affairs, Government Printing Works, Electoral Commission, and the Border Management Authority, the Minister of Home Affairs and the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, respectively, are instructed to address and report on these issues by 30 April 2024, unless otherwise indicated. So basically giving the department 6 months to provide an updated or extensive report on all these issues, unless we indicate another date. So the issues there were that the e-visa system needed to be translated as required and made more user-friendly. The annual targets for live capture of birth registration and health facilities should include the current and total outstanding facilities remaining, alongside targets for the year to indicate relative progress. There's a need for ongoing training on accounting standards for those working on reporting. There should be targets within the finance and supply chain management for complying with the AG recommendations and achieving a clean audit. There should be a full rollout of the ABIS to all offices and completed without further delay and reported on by April 2025. The stagnant and low performance of 71% needs to be improved during in-year monitoring, particularly related to IT and legislative drafting capacity. The security and safety clients within and around the Tshwane Refugee Reception Office need to be urgently improved. And safety of clients, sorry, there's a word missing. Improved and monitored along with the South African Police Services to prevent crime and physical harm. There's the updated asylum, refugee, and appeal statistics for 2024 to be provided to the committee by February 2025, so by the end of the current year. A progress report on the 2016 Corruption Watch report and the 2024 Special Investigation Unit investigation at the Tshwane Refugee Reception Office to be provided to the committee. Progress on the expanded rollout of the digitization project, including appointment of more graduates and their productivity to address the delayed and unmet digitization targets in 2023-24. A better durable solution for the 28 long-term refugees that are being housed at Lindela needs to be reported on in conjunction with the UNHCR. The DHA must allow naturalized citizens, permanent residents, and citizens born abroad to apply for smart ID cards by the end of the 24-25 financial year. The proper sanitation of accommodation and provision of adequate meals at Lindela, particularly in the men's section, need to be reported on in conjunction with the South African Human Rights Commission by the end of January 2025. Report on addressing long outstanding dormant pending legal cases causing 2 billion rand in contingent liabilities. Reporting on the consequent management of non-compliance with legislation. The DHA should finalize the appointment of senior officials at the Tshwane Refugee Reception Centre. The DHA should provide a comprehensive plan and strategy towards the Zimbabwean exemption permit. Report on the cost of deportation, in particular of failed asylum seekers, and what has been considered to find more cost-effective long-term solutions. The DHA should be clear on the backlog should clear the backlog on processing visas and permits to ensure that there are no further concessions in the future, and capacity should be increased within the permits and refugee sections. Capacity within the Immigration Inspectorate should be increased to deal with the issue of undocumented migrants and those with expired permits who are already in the country. The CSIR network project should be rolled out to all high-volume offices to ensure that the long queues are dealt with, and the branch appointment booking system should be expanded and also include other services to address long queues. Applications for smart ID cards for naturalized citizens and those citizens born abroad should be prepared for as soon as possible. The DHA should be prepared that the loss of citizenship by South Africans who acquired a second nationality could be restored, as it was found by the courts that it was unconstitutional. The target for the issuance of smart ID cards per annum was at 2.5 million for the medium term, and the committee recommended that it should be increased to 3 million. There needs to be better intergovernmental cooperation at the municipal level on joint operations. This relates to immigration. In terms of the Border Management Agency, the BMA to communicate and submit its annual report as soon as possible before the requested extension of 30th November 2024. The collaboration of BMA with SARS to ensure the proper rollout of network capacity that can handle the new border management control system should be proceed with haste to improve border security and be reported on by May 2025. A detailed report on the engagement with National Treasury on fully funding the BMA, including indications of how the entity is fulfilling its mandate to be more efficient than the transferring departments. Motivate for procuring further criminal asset recovery account funding for essential tools or tools of trade. There's a need for ethics training and wellness program for the BMA staff. In particular, the proportion of goods and services funding for improved surveillance and other technology should be increased significantly. Plans for the allocation and rollout of the BMA Coast Guard should be accelerated in line with the increasing duties as new patrol vessels are procured. For the Electoral Commission, there should be further training on the enforcement by the IEC. There should be better training and enforcement by the IEC of the Electoral Code of Conduct during elections relating to campaigning near voting station, wearing party regalia, and the photographing of ballots. There's a need for further education on the use of 3 ballots in national and provincial elections. Improved auditing is needed on the reporting of party funding. The IEC should make a renewed financial case for improving funding for voter education on the importance of voting and research on how to improve participation. The IEC should report to the committee on the assessment of the 2024 elections when its report is ready. And the impact of the Political Party Funding Act on parties in South Africa should be researched and shared with the committee. And lastly, on the government printing works, responses to the concerns raised by GPW unions to the Minister of Home Affairs should be reported on by February 2025. The lack of maintenance and slow repair of equipment leading to outsourcing of much printing work should be finalized urgently. Finalizing the long-delayed move of all printing facilities to the GPW offices from Bosman Street, assisted by the Development Bank of South Africa, must be reported on by March 2025. The GPW should be granted a special dispensation to better pay artisans currently being poached by the private sector to address the 58% vacancy rate. Provide a list of debtors, especially government departments, and indicate what effect hiring a debt collection firm has had. Ensure that GPW address the outstanding audit findings, in particular related to information communications technology. The negotiations on addressing the unsustainability of the rebates on documents printed for the DHA by GPW should be concluded as a matter of urgency. And the GPW, along with the IEC, should report to the committee on the viability of GPW printing a portion of the ballot papers for elections. So this is the report as we have it currently. We'll open up to members via you, Chairperson. Just to indicate that I did receive written input from Honourable Ruiz on the report, which I can share on the screen so that he can go through them when it's his turn to contribute, Chairperson. But for now, I'll just display the report and hand over to you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Honorable Modise for intervening. Mr. Matwensi, can you hear me?
Yes, Chair, I can hear you.
Yeah, thanks very much. And apologies earlier on, there was a network challenges as I've indicated. Firstly, can I check, Mr. Matwensi, when are we expected to adopt the deadline to adopt the PPFA report?
Chair, there is by 25, which is Friday.
Okay. All right, members, this is a report that has been presented. Can I get comments, particularly on the recommendations? And thanks for having compiled a report, including the oversight conducted. I've already noted technical challenges in the report, which we may need to rework on, and some of the issues that may need to properly be captured, which I'll raise once members have commented later. Members, can I invite your comments? Mr. Matunzi will assist me to note members, the Honorable Ngubane, Honorable Kojana, Honorable Ross, Honorable Mudisemza. Honorable Ngubane.
Chair, I think from my side, I would like to appreciate Mr. Salmon for the intense reporting on this. From my side, it covers even more of what we were observing as we go along, and most of the things of the committee. We really appreciate the intense work that he has done. To me, it looked like he has left no stone unturned on what we were speaking about. One other small issue on the comments on IEC transparency, that he did capture it, but I would like it to be captured more, where it says the committee is requesting a transparency throughout the value chain of the IEC activities. That's all. It's just to say throughout the value chain of the activity of the IEC activities of vote during voting times. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kojana.
Thank you, Chairperson, and also thank you to Mr. Salman and Mr. Matonzi for putting this together. Quite a comprehensive report. We appreciate it. I think that besides the technical issues that I also noted, that we did ask, I think it was at Lindela, the suppliers that they use for the food, if they are South African suppliers, and perhaps if we can receive that the budget used for that, and if we can look at a South African supplier, if not, because some of the products that we viewed look very foreign to us. Other than that, the report does communicate what we have seen over the oversight period, especially. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kojana. Honorable Ross.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, I'd also like to echo the congratulations on a very comprehensive report. I think it looks very good. And also to note that I think for the first year in many years, we've had a reduction in the number of outstanding issues from previous years. I always seem to remember there being a lot more. And I think it's a credit to this committee for doing the oversight, for pushing, for not allowing things to get swept away. That we're in a situation where a lot of the recommendations actually do get implemented. So that's very good to see. Chair, I did have a few inputs, and I will just go through them. I know Adam offered to screen them. So if we look at page 46, I think the one thing, there's three things that are not there which are quite important. The one is the AG mentioned that the current IT governance framework at GPW was not implementable. And the commitment was that the department was busy with a review as part of the modernization initiative. So I think this is important to track as a key AG finding, because of the fact that GPW had the data losses, etc. Their IT governance is very important. Then to add that the DHA irregular expenditure is back up to was back up to 5-year highs of over 600 million. And the DHA committed to tightening internal controls. Then the third item under AG is there was mention of the register of inspections of enforcement operations, that it was not prepared on a timely basis. And that means that some of the inspections could not be accounted for. And Chair, I think it's really important, especially with the Minister's commitment to increase the number of internal enforcements. And what you were talking about, the purpose of this meeting, looking at spaza shops, poisonous food that is being sold, etc. This is a very important thing for this committee to follow up. So I propose that we add that. And then again, the answer from the department was that adequate internal controls would be implemented to ensure that all valid inspections are recorded sufficiently in line with the TID. Then in terms of the DHA, I think one thing to add was the concern over the poor performance in the processing of visa applications over that financial year. 52% of critical skills visas in 4 weeks, 61% of business visas, and only 10% of general work visas were processed in the correct time. And the commitment from the department, or what they said, is that these have since the 23-24 financial year all improved to 100%. But it's certainly, those were not very good visa processing results from the last financial year. And it is worth noting that. Then in terms of the GPW, it's to add that the committee was concerned by the poor maintenance of printers, which resulted in staff sitting idle for several years, bookbinding services being performed manually, and security printing work being outsourced to service providers. I think it was a very important finding that we need to also note in this report for action. Then in terms of the recommendations, Chair, it's just 2 amendments to item 10.21. I know it says that the CSIR network project should be carried out. Chair, I would propose that we just say the network improvement project, because the CSIR network project, it wasn't a tender, it's not a long-term project. It was a trial that the former minister was trying out to see if they could resolve the network issues, but it's not a tender that went out over multiple years, etc. And if we say that we recommend that the CSIR network project continues, then it's almost like we are awarding a tender or telling the department to give it to them. So I would just recommend there that we say the network improvement project. And then finally on 10.37, it's just a typo. It says the IEC should report to the committee on the assessment of the 2024 elections. When its report was ready, it should be when the report is ready. But that's it from me, Chair. Otherwise, happy with the report. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Ross. I'm noting that you are awarding contracts now. Thanks, Honorable Ross. Honorable Mdisemta.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think some of the issues have been covered, but briefly, firstly, on the oversight that was conducted at the refugee center. It must be noted that the senior management was not available to provide us with the report. And as a result, we had a flawed report, or the acting manager who was unable to clarify issues or be able to report properly on the management and the functioning or activities that are taking place at that center. So it must be noted on the report that the manager of that refugee center was invited to a parallel meeting by the minister, and as a result, they were absent in that oversight process. What needs to be highlighted as well, Chair, is on Home Affairs, the AG's report. It would have reflected that there are concerns that the department might have not highlighted to the committee, and that they would have presented an incomplete information. And as a result, it was concerning to ourselves as a committee. And part of the recommendation is that we must then be able to reschedule the AG to come and present a comprehensive report regarding the DHA, and so that we can further seek clarity on issues that were raised and be able to have a complete picture of the overall management and the finances or the status of the DHA. On government printing works, as part of the recommendations, Chair, I would want to forward that after we had conducted that unannounced visit the second day, I think it would have assisted greatly and would have discovered a lot of challenges or issues that were not necessarily raised on a formal oversight visit to the entities. Therefore, part of what I would want to recommend is that the committee should then evoke its powers in then calling for a forensic investigation on the government printing works, so that some of the issues that we would have discovered as a committee can be professionally handled and be properly or thoroughly investigated. So part of the recommendation should include that investigation that must be looked into on the government printing works. I don't think the report reflects properly on the discoveries of what we found on the government printing works. So it will be important, Chair, that we look into that. Part of what is concerning, in as much as we would have agreed on the IEC report being deferred or being delayed due to the matters being sub judice, we may also need to make a determination on how long can the report be delayed, taking into consideration that processes of courts may take longer. And if really there's a feeling that it may take too long for the report to be established on the portfolio committee, we may then have to determine a time frame on how long do we think we can give space for IEC to deal with its court matters and subsequently be able to reschedule them to come and appear on the committee. On issues that the reference being made on IEC's educational processes with regard to the 3 ballots, we are all aware that we are embarking. There's an electoral panel that is looking into the electoral systems. We do not know what changes that might come forth or the recommendations and subsequently the decision that might be taken by Parliament. But I would want to say that probably let's focus on the overall voter education instead on focusing on educating on the 3 different ballots, because there might be, probably we might move into a different system that may not necessarily speak to those physical ballots, but something else. But rather, let's emphasize and stick on the importance of the overall voter education. Overall, the report fairly reflects the views of the portfolio committee on the engagements that we would have had with the department and the entities. And Chair, you would have raised some of the technical errors that would have appeared, and it's also on the grammatic errors that reflect. I think the drafters may need to go back and then rework on those errors, look into those spellings and the grammars, and probably we can then agree that we can adopt this report probably on Friday. I don't see any need for us to adopt this report today, but rather allow the administrators to go and rework on those errors that have been identified and make those additional comments that come from the members, and then we can reschedule the adoption specifically for this item. So it may not need to take longer than an hour, even on a virtual platform, that we then deal with this report. So that will be my recommendation, that can we then adopt the report on Friday. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Disemza and honorable members for.
Chair.
Oh,
I sense that you are likely to stop me from speaking.
No, I will not do that. Sorry, apologies, as in proceed.
Thanks, Chair. I think colleagues have ventilated on many of the issues, but I think I want to align myself with Honorable Modise here, because in particular on GPW, and support the suggestion or the recommendation that says there has to be an investigation in terms of operations of GPW. And that investigation must also look into, in terms of that conversation we had, look into why would you have only SAPS, Home Affairs, and the Department of Education, Limpopo, who are giving the function of printing to GPW, not everyone else, not other departments, like including IEC, who's not printing with them. It tells you that there is underlying issues, as we saw when we had visited and when we had listened to the ground, and also when we had spoken to in the meeting that we're in. Also, the management capacity of the institution. I do not think, Chair, from what we listened to, you could pick up from employees or from generally everyone else who we interacted with within GPW, tells you of incapacity within the senior management of the institution, which I think should reflect on that report. I don't think we have covered enough in terms of what we were able to pick up as a committee in terms of what is happening at GPW. Also, the question of CETA, the CETA Act, that every time we get to a department or in the Department of Home Affairs, every time we speak about network coverage, we speak about all those other technicalities, there is always a problem that CETA is inability to render the functions that they are supposed to be rendering. I think we should reflect it somewhere within the report to say that from time to time, or most of the times, the border management raises this issue. IEC at times raises this issue of CETA and all of that. So I think we need to be elaborative. The team that is drafting the report on GPW, we even said it looks like it is going the route of the post office. And we as this portfolio committee of the 7th Parliament, we are trying to make sure that we do not get to that. So if an investigation can be done, supported by us, it should reflect somewhere within the report that way. That's what the committee is looking for. So I wanted to speak to that, Chair, only. Thank you.
No, thanks. Can I check if there's any other member? Mr. Matwansi, don't have any hand, no?
No, there's no other hand.
Okay. No, thanks, members. I think the last point, Honorable Yazim, of CETA is our resolve that Home Affairs with its own entities must be exempted from the CETA, given the challenges that they've been raised in the 6th Parliament and also now in our session. In fact, we must re-emphasize that there's a decision that security cluster may need to be exempted, but that should be followed by a process of legislation that must be passed. So we must be emphatic and also on the issues that are raised. Secondly, we need to reconvene on Friday at earliest in the morning, just for 30 minutes to adopt the report. By that time, we'll have worked changes and make additions and summarized the detail in terms of issues that are rising from the report. Members have contributed in terms of the issues, which I fully agree on the areas that we need to deal with. The other part we must get, at least Mr. Adams and Mr. Matonsi, it's a separate report on the unannounced visit to government printing works that details our visits, issues raised by community of staff, issues raised by members' observations, the machines that were there for almost 15 to 20 years, not used but are new, so that report would then send it to the government printing works, and I think will facilitate a clarity in terms of the provision to move for the investigation of that institution, as Honorable Modise has proposed, and members have proposed during our oversight. We may need also to have agreed that we may need to invite again the review panel that conducted investigations, and that report also must be circulated to members so that we also balance the issues that were identified by this panel and recommendations, and the implementation plan around that, and also the report that will be establishing Mr. Adams and Mr. Matonsi. You recall that the Auditor General have highlighted that there are certain recommendations that were not implemented as a result of that panel. So we managed to zoom in this government printing works. I'm happy that there's a resolve that we must ground in on the work of the government printing works in order to save its governance and its operation, but also conducive work for the workers there, but also stability at the level of the management. They've raised the issue of we've observed many issues also in relation of the safety clothing, and many other issues that make it better for conducive work. So we must get that separate report from the IEC, from yourself in relation to that visit, because other reports we've already received them. On BMA, I think it's clearer on the funding and also on the legislation that may seek to enhance their operations, border management authority within the security cluster. You have noted that you've raised limitations in terms of the legislation that doesn't allow them to do certain things that they ought to contribute within the security cluster. So we must also highlight that. And also the issue of their offices. I think there was an area that they've identified that they need a secured better office so that it enhance their operation. There was also a proposal of the SNDF old offices or something like that. So we must also emphasize on that matter. I think we've labored on the IEC consistent audit outcome, and also appreciating the work that they've been doing, raise concerns around the VMDs, which will be a matter to be dealt with when we deal with a report of the IEC, the voter education, which should be the collective effort by both the IEC and the public representative, councillors, MPs, MPLs, utilizing through our PCOs to make sure that decisions that we take as Parliament are able to found resonance within our members of the community. But these are other issues that we'll deal with. There's a matter which legal team may need to assist us. If they're not ready, they'll come back in our next meeting on the report of the IEC in relation to the issues that are sitting with the IEC in the Electoral Court that limit the IEC, which we understand as the committee. Whether in our last MENCO, we've requested one of the team of legal team to sort clarity so that we balance our understanding in terms of when can we convene IEC for that report, because we're also presenting the draft plan for 2026 local government elections, and any legislation that will be introduced to facilitate those elections and the roadmap therefore. So this is a critical area which I think the legal team need to assist us. In case the court takes long, that seeks to question our standing as members of parliament in relation to the issues that are before the court. So we may need to get that clarity. But overall, I think members have dealt with the issues. Will rework the report, and appreciate Mr. Salmon and Mr. Matonsi for having drafted this report. The legal service, there's one matter which I think members will also raise with the IC that we seek guidance from yourselves in terms of the presenting the report, whereas there's matters that are sitting in court. If you're not ready today, but in the next meeting, at least we can brief the committee so that we're able to know how we're going to navigate this area. Legal services. Mr. Matonsi?
Yeah, it looks like they are not in the meeting now.
Okay, no, it's fine. So we'll thanks, members. We'll note the report, we'll rework on it, then we'll reconvene on Friday just for 30 minutes, and members will able to also work on the report. Mr. Matonsi, Mr. Adams, will be that sufficient?
Yes, Chairperson. I'll make the amendments as indicated by the members and send it to members today already. Then they can consider. They have a few days to consider before Friday. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah. So we'll also deal with this BRRR report tomorrow after the items that we're scheduled to deal with, and this will be last item for the researchers so that we rework on the other issues.
There's a hand there, Chair. Mr. Ross.
Honorable Ross.
Thank you, Chair. If I may, I just want to raise the issue of outstanding items that we have requested from the department. So firstly, the Electoral Reform Panel report that we still need to receive, the full report. Then secondly, the list of the mobile units, their schedule for the coming month. And then thirdly, the GPW figures that we discussed last week. So I'm just requesting, Chair, again, that we receive them, as they have been requested quite a long time ago. Thank you.
Okay, maybe the fourth one is that when they come and present the work of the anti-corrupt unit, and also the progress on the multidisciplinary team, they may need to include the SIU report in relation to the Tshwane refugees. I think that we can deposit with them, Mr. Matonsi. DM, I think, can you comment on this issue so that we close the meeting?
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. I think we've noted the reports that are due. I think if you can clap the meetings as you were proposing, we'll definitely then come and make those presentations. But I will also, from here, discuss with management to already start preparing the reports as indicated. Thank you. The other issue, Chair, that I will request, I'm not sure whether the request was eventually sent through for these other ones, but I will check. I think the committee can leave that with me. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Matonsi, is there another matter?
Yeah, what is left is to adopt 2 sets of minutes of the 17th and 20th of September.
Can we defer that to the next week, Mr. Matonsi? Or to Friday?
Yeah, we can to Friday. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. DM, thanks and your team for having attended with us the entire session and the items. I think we have appreciated details that of the committee and your team and your legal team and other issues that you'll be dealing with. And you've taken note of the issues that are arising from the PPFA report, that we made observations and oversight. And I think at that time we are going to engage with it, the report on Friday. At least your parliamentary parliamentary liaison officer will be part of the meeting, and also observe the issues that we'll be dealing with. Prior to that, you can liaise with Mr. Salmon and Matons with the other issues that we need to take note of. Members, thanks very much, and for having attended this meeting. Legal team, in your absence, thanks. The meeting stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chair.
Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Chairperson. Thank you. Bye-bye.